Hey guys, welcome to day 2. Now yesterday after upgrading the laptop, the rest of day was consumed resolving few issues, and that issue is relevant, so I'll quickly go through that. Now what happened that this laptop comes with 1 TB hard drive installed, so the system was installed in that, and that was like drive 0 for the system for Windows. When I installed my new SSD, that became drive 1. Now by default Windows, the standard is that the Windows are installed in drive 0, and it always looks for drive 0 to boot the computer or the laptop. After installing that, I cloned my system in Windows file from the old SSD to new SSD and tried to boot. In that case, you have to go to BIOS and disable your old SSD as a boot drive and give your new SSD as a priority 1. In that case, it will boot, but then there are some issues, there are some error checking, and the boot was not fast enough for the SSD. It was very close to the SSD boot time, even sometimes longer, so there was some issues. So that's why I decided to fresh install the Windows in new SSD, and for that I formatted both my drives and then installed fresh Windows in the new SSD, and things are now fine. Still my SSD is drive 1 and the old SSD is drive 0. Now this drive 1 drive 0 thing, you can search it on internet. This is a whole different topic for a new video, but then for those who are curious, you can search it on Google and probably know about it. What's the scene? This is like the indexing system of Windows. So but then because I reinstalled the fresh copy in new SSD and drive 1, it's working fine for me, and for most of you guys it will work fine if you will fresh install the Windows in your new drive and format the old drive. That will resolve any issues. It just look awkward when you go to BIOS setting. It still shows you that the boot drive is your old SSD, and when you open the disk management, it will show you the drive C is, partition C is actually drive 1. So it just look awkward, but then if you can digest that, everything will be fine. The ideal way to do is, like, if you are cloning your old Windows, your Windows from old hard drive to the new SSD, once the cloning is done, you switch off your computer, you remove your old SSD, and then you boot your system from the new installed SSD. In that way, the computer will, because there is only one drive installed, so the computer will assign it as a drive 0, and then once the boot is completed successfully, you can again switch off your computer and reinstall your old SSD, and then later format it, and that will become your drive 1 or a secondary storage. So that's the ideal way to do it. In that way there is no issues, no problem, no confusion. But then because in laptops sometimes it's difficult to open back, in this laptop, as you see, it's not very easy to open the back, so I don't want it to get into that hassle that open back 2-3 times just to finish up my Windows installation. So I went with the shortcut. Any of you installing new SSD, make sure that you format your old hard drive and fresh install it. Try not to clone it, because that's not necessarily every time works in a smooth way. Now let's back to our review. Now let's talk about build quality and IOs of this laptop. And as I said in my old video, this laptop build quality is top notch. It's simply best in its class. Asus has done great work giving it such a nice finish. And yes, the Asus has done some cost saving in choosing the material. Like, this lid is only metal and the chassis is metal, but then the back panel is plastic, and even the deck is plastic. So yes, the Asus could have done a better way in choosing material, but then that will increase the cost, so we can understand the trade-offs. But then for sure, this laptop feels and looks amazing in your hand. It's really a nice laptop to hold. There is no chassis flex, and it's very sturdy build. Even the lid flex is very less. The keyboard deck flex is acceptable, and it's very nominal. Keystrokes are tactile and comfortable to type on. The touchpad is nice and big. There are hardly any dead zone, and it uses Windows precision, so your gestures are great. It's great to use on. It's not a glass finish, it's still a plastic finish, but then it's really smooth, and the fingerprint works fine. But I have to say, sometimes it forces me to have a look at my fingers. Now let's look at the port selections, and this laptop has a fairly good port selections. So if we go to the right side, here is a regular charging port from Asus, and then there is USB 3 type A port. Then you have a regular full-size HDMI port, and then this is a USB type C port. It's not a Thunderbolt, it's a regular USB type C, 2 PCI lane ports, so you cannot plug in your external GPUs and enjoy it. And then you have a normal 3.5mm audio jack. The front is mostly clean, there is nothing. At the left side you have again two type A USB ports, both are USB 2, and then you have a micro SD card. And this SD card is not very fast, it's average. I guess the maximum write speed I have seen is about 70-75 Mbps, and it averages out mostly at 45 to 50 Mbps. And then there are few lights like for the battery and then normal power on. So that's it, that's pretty much it. And it's adequate, the back is clean, and this port selection is adequate for most of the people. Now I have few complaints. The port selection is good, it's pretty adequate, but then there are few complaints. So the problem is, guys, I'm a right-handed person, and at this side we have a charging dock, a charging point, a USB 3 port, and a HDMI port, USB type C port, and a headphone jack. Now we don't have lot of USB type C equipment still available. Mostly the phones, and they too on other hand have a USB port, except if you're owning an Apple. So that's it. So the issue is, let me borrow a few things. If I want to use my mouse, my USB 3 hard disk, and a earphone, and if I want to plug the charger, so you can imagine one more cable coming here. So let me plug them all. So I connected my earphone, and because it's a USB 3, I need to connect it to the USB 3 port, because then only I will get the speeds. So I will connect it to the port here, and then the charging cable here, and then my mouse. There is no port left to connect my USB for the mouse. So okay, because I have a long cable, I'll go to other side and connect it here. Okay, that's it. But then look at this side. How congested it is. If I'm working, how the hell I'm gonna work smoothly? My right side is occupied by the hard disk, the cables, and I have to just extend my hand a little wide so that I can work freely. So this is the problem. Okay, now there are two USB 2 ports at this side. Also this is 2018, not 2010. So guys, why are you still giving USB 2 ports? Mostly all the USB 2 devices are compatible with USB 3 devices. So there will be no problem if you will skip few USB 2 ports and give instead a USB 3 ports, because that will help us a lot. Just in case if you wanted to connect two USB 3 hard disk, external hard disk, you are in for a dissatisfaction. I'll say the satisfaction level will go down, because the OneDrive is not performing at its optimum level. It's been restrained because of a USB 2 port. So that's why, if any of Asus guys are watching this video, please take a note about the positioning of the USB ports and the numbers. 2 USB 2 and 1 single USB 3 in 2018 is sin. Even if they wanted to just keep one USB type C and two USB 2, if they could have given the USB C port at this side and the USB 2 on this side, so I can easily connect my mouse here and then the hard disk at this side, it will still be a better setup for me, because there is one device less here to obstruct my hand movement. So that's the point. If any of Asus guys are watching this, please make a note. Try to fix this problem in your future models. So these are the complaints with iOS, guys. Apart from this, the rest everything is sorted out. It's pretty solid. Now let's start answering the questions you guys were asking in comment section and all those doubts. So I'll try to answer majority of questions and doubts, if not all. So let's begin with temperature. Now many of you were asking how is the temperature in normal use or in gaming or while editing videos in 4K, rendering 4K videos. So in normal use, which consists of your normal day-to-day activities like browsing internet, working on MS Office, watching YouTube, watching movies, listening to music, the temperature remains between 45 to 58 degrees Celsius, and these are the processor temperature, not the surface temperature. And it averages around 55 degrees Celsius mostly. For gaming purpose, if you're gaming games like CSGO, Call of Duty and F1 2012, I mean, I tried these games and recorded the temperature of CPU. The temperature was anywhere between 70 to 85 degrees Celsius. If you are going for video editing, the temperature again goes to around 80 degree, and if you are editing a 4K video or rendering a 4K video, it touches the 90 degree Celsius. CPU starts thermal throttling. So yes, the rendering takes a little toll in temperature, but then that's acceptable. I mean, I always say when you have a discrete graphics card in a laptop, there should be two fans in two different heat pipes for each CPU and GPU. But in this case, there is single fan, single heat pipe, but still Asus has done a good job to maintaining the heat. The surface temperatures were maxing around 48 degrees to 50 degrees, and that's quite acceptable. It's very normal. It will not create major issues with most of you guys. So that's okay. So overall, Asus has done good job in handling the heat issue. Now for battery life, again here is a graph in normal use, which consists again, you know, your net browsing, YouTube, videos, movies, music, MS Office work. I was getting about 5.5 hours, you know, average. Sometimes I even got close to 6 hours, but then that's like a very conservative use. Everything is closed in background, nothing running, and that's a little too much for a normal use. I mean, I don't feel like one should be paying that much attention to battery consumption. So in free use, it's about around 5.5 hours. And then when you start gaming on battery, it lasts around 2 hours. For CSGO, it lasted almost 2 hours 20 minutes, but for F1 and Call of Duty, it will last around 2 hours. And for video editing, again, it will last about 100 minutes to 120 minutes. So it depends on what kind of video editing you're doing. If you're doing 4K and putting in a lot of color rendering and effects, it will drain a little faster. But then with simple edits like 1080p timeline and a normal effect, it goes up to 2 hours. So that's the battery performance, guys. Now if I will talk about upgrades, as you see, there is a M.2 slot for SATA SSD upgradation, and that can accommodate up to 512 GB. You can also swap your SSD in that, and you can put up to 2 TB of new SSD or the SSDs. For RAM, the maximum limit is 16 GB DDR4 2400 MHz. And you can also swap the Intel modem, the Wi-Fi modem, but then I don't see any reason to swap that because that's already a dual band very good Wi-Fi modem. Now many of you were asking about the display, and I strongly feel this is one of the best displays in its competition in its price bracket. It's a 1080p panel, and the viewing angles are really great. Even at the sharp tilt, the colors remains very accurate. You can see some extreme angles. Still there is no fading in color or change in color, so that's the thing. And if we will look at the sharpness, it's also great. It's not overkill, it's just the perfect amount. And it's a 72% NTSC panel, so the color accuracy is also quite high, and it's an anti-glare panel. As you can see right now, I'm recording it and there is a direct light coming in from the window, but then still it's very clear in camera. The only thing is, like, it has a 60 Hz panel in 2018, but again I'm nitpicking things because for the kind of hardware it contains, a 60 Hz panel is good enough. I mean, you probably don't need a 120 Hz panel because it doesn't have a strong graphics card. Now some of you asked, is this laptop is good enough for photo and video editing, mostly for editing purpose. So the straight answer for photo editors is yes. I mean, this laptop is more than enough for, editing any type of photos. Even if you are a person who is editing raw and applying lot of layers and putting a lot of masks and all in Photoshop, it's still gonna perform with breeze. It's more than enough for your requirement. It contains a lot of horsepower for photo editing, so you probably don't need anything else for photo editing. For limited, those of you who feel no, you probably need more performance, you can simply put in a SSD, and that will make Photoshop or any of your editing software a lot more snappier, and all the effects and the export will be a lot faster. And you can always put one more 8 GB stick RAM, so the total RAM will go up to 16 GB. Now it's not like that you need 16 GB RAM for photo editing, to be frank. 8 GB is enough, but then the 16 GB RAM will give you that headroom, that like the Photoshop is open, a raw image is getting edited, and then you have 10-12 browsers open in Chrome, and then probably 2 or 3 YouTube browsers open for those tutorials which you are following. So in that case, yes, the 16 GB RAM will help, and it will make your workflow go smooth. So yes, you can probably upgrade if the requirement is, or else this laptop for photo editing is more than enough. For video editors, again, it depends. If you are the one like me who always edit and render on a 1080p timeline, this laptop is again more than enough. Just put in an SSD, max your RAM to 16 GB, and you're good to go. If you are a hardcore 4K video editor, you only gonna edit 4K and render in 4K, I'll probably say you can go for something with GTX 1050s or 1060s and the Intel's H series CPUs, or the new Ryzen 2nd generation 6 cores or 8 core CPUs. That will help you in better way. And a point to remember here, if you're buying an Intel CPU, please don't buy 7th generation. If you are buying a laptop for video editing, don't buy the 7th generation H series like the 7700HQ. Don't buy it, because the 8th generations have 2 more cores. I mean, there are 6 cores, 12 threads, multi-threads, and the cache is more memory, and there are small bit of improvements on the whole process structure. So the overall improvement is too large to avoid. Look for the 8th generation. The prices will come down in some time. They are slightly high right now, but they will come down in few months. So if you can wait, or if you can afford, just go for the 8th generation with Nvidia 1050 or 1060, whatever you can afford, and that will serve your 4K, 5K video editing and rendering purpose. But then for a moderate level editing, or even for a basic to moderate level 4K editing, this laptop is good enough. And then many of you guys asked, is this laptop is good for gaming? Well, because I reinstalled the Windows and all, and the games are not yet installed in the system, I can show you some gameplays. But then for small games, for game titles which are few years old, this laptop is good. The MX150 with 2 GB DDR4 Ram, it's good enough to play titles who basically came before 2016, let's say 2015, 2016. You can play them on high to ultra settings. But then the titles which have came recently, mostly after 2015, or there are a few exceptions, but yeah, the titles which came after 2015, they are playable, but only at a mid to high settings. And some big games with open world and a lot of things going on those, if you want to play those games in this laptop, you have to go to the low settings, I mean low resolution settings. So that's the thing. Again, it's a slim and thin laptop. It's not totally targeted at gaming purpose, but then you can game on this laptop. If you are someone who is good with playing 1 or 2 hours a day, a normal title or a good decent title, and who can be happy playing it at a medium or a high level setting, then this laptop is good. But then if you're a hardcore gamer who play like 5-6 hours a day and he wants everything at ultra setting, then this is not a laptop for you. You probably look for some proper gaming laptops. So that's the thing for gaming, guys. Now it's time to check out the competition, guys, and see what other models are available in this segment. Now these are the competition competition to Asus Vivobook S15 in Indian market. There are some models with i5 processor, but then the problem is either they are not available with i7 model in the market, or their i7 model is too much expensive and it's irrelevant to this comparison. So let's look them one by one. First one is Acer A515-51G. It comes only with i5 8th generation CPU 8250U. It's a quad-core CPU with 4 threads, and it has a 8 GB RAM, DDR4 Ram, 1 TB hard disk, MX150 graphics card with 2 GB GDDR5 RAM, and it weighs around 2.2 kg and cost around 47,000 rupees. Now many of you guys are asking me like, why not to go for this model compared to the Asus Vivobook? I mean, you can absolutely go with this model, there is nothing wrong with this model, but then there are a few things like it's not an i7 processor, it's an i5 processor, and the graphics card is yes same with same memory, but then Acer has tuned this MX150 to run at a lower speed. Then the panel, the display panel in this laptop is just 720p, not 1080p, and it also a 2.2 kg, so almost 400 grams or 500 grams heavier than the S15, but then it's much cheaper, so that cost will basically compensate for the trade-offs. Then the second option is Acer Swift 3. It again comes with the i5 8250U and 8 GB RAM, 1 TB hard disk with 128 GB SSD, and it has a MX150 similarly tuned to the Acer 515, Windows 10, and it weighs around 2.1 kg and cost a whopping 70,000 rupees. Now this is the cost is the major disadvantage for this laptop. I mean, it has an i5 processor, it weighs more, it looks good, but then at 70,000 rupees, I mean, why not to buy the Asus S15? But then again, for someone who wants something different can go with it if they are willing to take that little bit performance hit. At the third number, we have HP Pavilion 15-inch CC134TX model. It comes with i7-8550U, a very similar processor, 8 GB of RAM, 2 TB of hard disk drive, and Nvidia GeForce 940MX, Windows 10, and a 2.2 kg of weight, and cost you around 75,000 rupees. I mean, between 74 to 75,000 rupees, depending on, I mean, where you're buying it, like from retail store or from Flipkart or Amazon. Now this laptop is a good option, but it's bulky, it's heavy, and it comes with the last generation Nvidia 940MX. Now I don't recommend people buying the 940MX when the 150MX is available in 2018, because the 150MX is almost 40 to 50% faster than the 940MX. In some cases it's almost 60% faster than the 940MX. So that's why I don't recommend buying 940MX right now if you are planning to do any bit of gaming or video editing, because in these two cases the graphics cards are utilized. The fourth option is HP NV13. Now it's a small little laptop, 13-inch laptop, very portable. The model name is AD128TU. It comes with again i7-8550U, 8 GB of RAM, 256 GB of SSD, Windows 10, and weighs just 1.4 kg and cost around 80,000 rupees. Now the only problem with this laptop is that the 8 GB RAM it comes with is 1866 MHz, so the speed is very low. Apart from that, this laptop is really great. It's a very lightweight and compact laptop. Only the pricing is issue. I mean, it's a 80K for a 256 GB version. If you go for the 512 GB, the laptop will cost you around 95,000 rupees. At that price point, you have a lot of other options which are, I guess, better than this laptop. And at the end, the Dell Inspiron 7570. It also comes with i7-8550U, 8 GB RAM, DDR4, 1 TB hard disk, again Nvidia GeForce 940MX. I don't know what Dell is thinking. Windows 10, weighs around 2.4 kg and cost 80,000 and upward. I mean, various retailers are selling it between 80 to 85,000 rupees. So that's the thing. And at this price point, I don't think this is a wise decision, because it doesn't have an SSD, has an older graphics card, weighs more than almost all other laptops in this comparison. So people who are willing to spend 80 to 85k, I will suggest to check Asus Genbook UX430U. And now the last question is, who should buy this laptop? Now it's a powerful, slim, lightweight and a very good looking laptop, so it has a good bid for everyone. So it's very hard for me to recommend this laptop to certain group or category, but then I'll try my best to give you some ideas. Who should go for this laptop? First type of category I will recommend this laptop is students. It's slim, it's lightweight, it's portable, powerful and stylish. So it checks all the checkbox, for the college going crowd. So they will be happy with this laptop. They can play on it. It is more than enough for all their project works, and it's lightweight, so it's gonna be easy on their back. So yeah, for students this laptop is really good. The second category is beginner to mid-level creative guys. Anyone who is doing or starting a photo editing or a video editing, or the professional photo editors. For photo editing this laptop is more than enough, doesn't matter at what level you are. But for video editors, if you are starting or your workflow is limited to 1080p or 2.7k, then this laptop is really great. I will not suggest this for the full-time 4k professional video editors, but you can work 4k videos on it, but then they will be not that smooth. But all those who are working on 1080p timeline, this laptop is one hell of a beast. And then comes the third category, which is basically a lightweight gamers. And when I say lightweight gamers, that means the people who are not heavily into gaming. Their gaming sessions are not very long. It's probably 1 or 2 hours, and they play normal titles, not very heavy titles at ultra settings. For them it's really a good thing. And also the people who are on the move, because it's slim, portable and lightweight, it's very easy on your back, so you can carry it anywhere and work on it. So yes, for the beginners or the starters or the casual gamers, this laptop is also recommended. So that's it from this video, guys. I know this video was long, so I have to divide it into 2 parts. I hope this video will help you make your mind about the laptop, or if you're in market to buy some laptop, it will help you. If you have any doubts or questions, ask them in comment section. I will try to reply them as soon as possible. If you like this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to this channel. I will see you later. Till then, take care. Ciao.